If you're saving to buy your first home in Australia, then you should use the First Home Super Saver Scheme. It'll save you $10,000 or $20,000 if you're a couple. It works because you can send money before tax into your superannuation fund and then withdraw up to $50,000 to use in your deposit for your first home without ever having paid any income tax. It's terrific, and it's an absolute no-brainer that you should use it if you're saving for your first home. So in this video, I'm going to use an example of a couple saving for their first home and using the scheme to show you how it works. Here we are, Tom and Mithra. They're saving for their first home. One of them's earning $110,000 plus super, the other's earning $90K plus super. They're in the middle of the income tax brackets in Australia, and they can each save $10,000 before tax per year for the deposit for their home. So in Australia, when saving for the deposit for your first home, you can use the superannuation system. You can contribute up to $15K per year into the First Home Super Saver Scheme, and then take out $50K once you've accumulated the $50K. You can get a one-off release of $50,000 through voluntary contributions of up to $15K per year. Now, Tom and Mithra are only going to contribute $10K per year, but that's still going to really work for them. And most savers will be $10,000 better off per person using the First Home Super Saver Scheme than they would be if they didn't use it. So here are the tax brackets in Australia. Income taxes are high in Australia, obviously. These are the tax brackets for this year. Next year, they are a different set. And these include the Medicare levy. Tom and Mithra are in this middle tax bracket, 34.5% marginal income tax rate. Now here we have their salary and investment income coming down here, and going out the bottom we have spending, and everything in between is either saving on this side or tax, income tax on this side. So the first thing is their concessional contributions to super. They have to make compulsory contributions of 11% of their salary and 11.5% from next year. But these are concessional voluntary contributions, and they can make up to $15,000 per year into the First Home Super Saver Scheme. Now, when you make contributions to super, whether they are voluntary or compulsory, concessional or compulsory, then the government wants 15% of those contributions, so only 85% goes through to your super, and the government wants 30% if your taxable income is above $250,000. So if we go down here, then income tax is 34.5% for Tom and Mithra, who are in the middle of the income tax brackets. And so if they are saving down here for their home deposit, then it'll be after tax. You can see the benefit of saving up here through super because it's before they pay income tax. Okay, so they're taking their $10,000, they're putting it into super as a voluntary contribution in the First Home Super Saver Scheme. So after the contribution tax of 15%, $8,500 goes in, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. And we've got compounding, which I'm assuming is happening at 8% per year. And after 5 years with compounding, they'll have their $50,000 to withdraw. Now they could as well, or instead, be saving down here after tax. But because this is nearly 35% that's going out here, their $10,000 before tax will only be $6,500 after tax. So their first year contribution, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, it'll actually take 6 years with 8% compounding of the money to grow to $50,000, such as we had. And so you can see the main benefit here is that we're getting $2,000 extra into our savings by taking it out before income tax and putting it into super through the First Home Super Saver Scheme. $2K per year. And 5 years of that is roughly the $10,000 that they're going to save per person. But there's actually something else, and that is the tax on the money as it compounds. And so we're assuming here that we're getting an 8% growth rate, compounding rate, and we have to pay tax on income and capital gains. And up here in the First Home Super Saver Scheme, the income tax, because this money is in the accumulation phase of super, the income tax is 15% and capital gains tax is 2/3 of that, 10%. When we're saving down here, outside of the First Home Super Saver Scheme and after income tax, then income tax and capital gains tax are much higher. So you can see that there's two tax benefits of the First Home Super Saver Scheme. First of all, we're putting money into our savings, into super, before income tax instead of after income tax. And then once the money actually is in super, it's being taxed at a lower rate than if you didn't use the First Home Super Saver Scheme and let your money flow through after tax and save it outside of super. So you've got those two benefits, and the combination of those two benefits adds up to the $10,000 per person savings using the First Home Super Saver Scheme. So now, when will we have the $50,000? How do we know when we have accumulated $50,000? You might think that all I need to do is to look at my super statement, to look at the contributions that I've made, the voluntary contributions I've made, and how rapidly they've grown inside my superannuation fund. But actually, that isn't quite it. The tax department doesn't know how rapidly your money has grown necessarily, because there's a lot of super funds in Australia. So they just deem a rate of growth that is used for everybody. And so there's a deeming rate, they deem a rate that your voluntary contributions have grown at. And then once under their deeming rate, they've grown to 50,000, that's the maximum you can take out. But you can take out the 50,000 at that stage and use it in the deposit for your first home. Now you can see in this diagram what the problem is for the tax office. They just don't know the return on investments in every super fund. There's only about 30 industry funds, the not-for-profits, and there's about 124 profit retail funds, but there's nearly 700,000 self-managed super funds, and they don't know the returns on the investments in all of these 700,000 SMSFs. So they just deem a rate at which investments in the First Home Super Saver Scheme have grown in all of these super funds. So they just deem the rate at which Tom and Mither's contributions in each year have grown into the amount that is in their fund now and that they can take out. And so here we can see that the deeming rate is the 90-day bank accepted bills rate. We can worry about what the bank accepted bills rate is in another video, but the 90-day rate with 3% added on. That's deemed to be the rate at which their investments are growing. It's actually determined every quarter, and this is just an annual version of that. But the tax department deems the rate at which their contributions have grown into an amount, their first contribution, second, third, fourth, fifth, and these are the contributions themselves. The orange, the blue is what they've compounded into under the deeming rates. And when we add them up, that's the amount that's available to be taken out. Now they can only take out 50K, and anything above that stays in their super. But that's not a problem for Tom and Mither. They'll be glad that they made these contributions to super early in their investment journey when it comes time to retire. So 50,000 is released. Now there's a bit of top-up tax to pay on this. So they're in the 34.5% tax bracket. That on the 50,000 that they're taking out, but they get 30% credit. So they only have to pay 4.5%. 4.5% of 50,000 is 2,250. So they get 47,750 in the hand to use in their deposit for their first home. Now, what if they'd been on the 47% tax bracket? Well, that would be bad here because 47% with 30% credit, 17% of 50,000, that would be 8,500, and they'd only have 41,500 in the hand. It'd be bad here, but it would have been good for them when they were making contributions to super before 47%. So they would have gotten an extra benefit there and lost something here. So overall, it'd still be terrific for them to use the First Home Super Saver Scheme if they were in a higher tax bracket. So now's a good time to talk about my Finance Education for Investors course. So that's coming up on the 2nd of May, starts on the 2nd of May, runs for 10 classes from 7 to 9 p.m. Thursdays from the 2nd of May. Now these are the live classes. You can also watch them on demand, on videos. So you don't have to attend the live classes. Most people do, but you certainly don't have to do that. And many people attend the live classes and also watch them on demand. So you can't miss a class because you can always watch it on demand. The purpose of the course is empowerment and getting to better income, getting to better outcomes. So the feeling of empowerment is the opposite of the feeling so many investors have. People feel like they don't know what to do. They're spinning their wheels. They don't know who to trust, how to really get rolling with their investing, and they want to get to better outcomes, meaning reaching their financial goals faster. So the course is laid out in terms of investment process, a lot of knowledge, and a self-guided examination of your investing. It's $1,200 plus GST for the whole household, and it's everything that you need. So it is based around live classes and videos. There's lots of notes that go with it. There's a limited number of participants, but over 2,000 people have taken the course now. And about half of the participants choose to speak with me one-on-one during the course. So go to whittlestone.com.au to enroll or to get some more information. The course is coming up on the 2nd of May. Okay, how to implement the First Home Super Saver Scheme. Well, what you need to do today is to check that your super fund can actually implement it, that they make it available to you. And then speak to your employer about starting salary sacrificing, making the additional contributions to your super. You don't need to say that they're for the First Home Super Saver Scheme. You just need to make voluntary contributions. And then when you're ready to buy a house, what you're going to want to do is to get a determination from the Australian Tax Office saying that you can take the money out of your super, and then the money will be released direct to you from the ATO. Go from your fund to the ATO and then to you. So you go to MyGov, go to this part of your MyGov page, and then you'll come to here. It's super that you're interested in. You want to manage your super, and you want the First Home Super Saver Scheme down here. And then you'll come to here, and it'll show you how to get a determination from the tax office that you can receive the funds. So it's very straightforward. So making a release, get a determination from the tax office, and you do that before you sign a contract, and then you'll get the money within 14 days of entering into the contract, and the ATO sends you the money. So what about eligibility? Well, you need to be a first home buyer who's never owned property before, and you need to occupy the house for 6 to 12 months after the purchase. And of course, you can only make one First Home Super Saver Scheme release, but you don't need to be an Australian citizen. So what about Tom and Mithra? Well, Tom and Mithra save 75K each, 50K in the First Home Super Saver Scheme and 25K each, outside I should say. Now they've got their 150K and they use that to buy themselves a nice first home. Now, if you want to follow the rest of their investment journey, because it's only the beginning of their investment journey, then you should go to whittlestone.com.au. That's the First Home Super Saver Scheme. It really is low-hanging fruit. $10,000 per person, $20,000 for a couple. There isn't really any reason why you shouldn't use that tax advantage to your benefit in saving for your first home.